Каховське водосховище було джерелом питної води для мільйонів людей. А тепер замість водогону лише підвіз води.
The United Nations has no access to independent information on the circumstances that led to the destruction of the Kakhovka hydroelectric power plant dam. But one thing is clear. This is another devastating consequence of the Russian invasion of Ukraine. And we are seeing the effects in the city of Kherson, the town of Nova Kakhovka, and 80 other towns and villages along the Dnipro River. Massive flooding, large-scale evacuations, environmental devastation, destruction of newly planted crops. And that is threats to the highly threatened Zaporizhia nuclear power plant, Europe's largest nuclear facility. At least 16,000 people have already fled their homes, lost their homes, with safe and clean drinking water supplies at risk for many thousands more. The United Nations and the humanitarian partners are rushing support in coordination with the government of Ukraine, including drinking water and a water purification tablet and other critical assistance. We will continue our humanitarian work and our appeals for urgent, safe, and secure humanitarian access. Today's tragedy is yet another example of the horrific price of war on people. The floodgates of suffering have been overflowing for more than a year, and that must stop. Attacks against civilians and critical civilian infrastructure must stop. And we must act to ensure accountability and respect for international humanitarian law.
Shalom, 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 shalom. As always, first I want to give all the praises and the glory to Yahweh, Ba'asham, Yahushai, Ba'asham, Rakak, Kodash, double honors to the apostles and to the elders of Great Millstone, our teachers and our elders and our leaders in the spiritual warfare down here on planet Earth. All praises and glory. One to my fellow Hebrew Israelite brothers and sisters who have been edified by the truth, those of you who have woken up to the truth of the scriptures of who we are, the true children of Israel, the children of Yasharallah, the Hebrew Israelites, and who the other nations are, according to Bible prophecy. All praises and glory to Yahweh Hashem Yahushai. Shalom. So, I'm going to do a quick one. Russia, America, Ukraine. Every kingdom divided against itself is brought to desolation. Every kingdom divided against itself is brought to desolation. So, as you all must know by now, or seen by now, it's called the Nova, the what's it called again? The Kharkovka Dam, the Nova, that's what it is. It's the Nova Kharkovka Dam in Kherson, in Ukraine, has been detonated. Someone is blowing it apart. The Ukrainians are blaming the Russians send it to the Ukrainians. The Americans are saying they believe it's the Russians, but they don't have no proof. The British are saying that they're still investigating. The French and the Germans are saying that it's still under investigation. But they're basically all kind of saying that because of Russia's invasion into Ukraine, this is why this has happened. But they're still looking into who they believe has actually done it, basically. So it's remember the Russian troops patrol that Nova Kharkovka Dam it's called on the Dnipro River in Kherson region, right? So the Ukrainians are trying to blame the Russians, but yet the Ukrainians threatened to blow up the dam last year, right? But they think that's all gone away. They think that no one remembers them threatening to blow up the dam last year, the Ukrainians, and also that they fired missiles on the dam to weaken it last year. So let me show you the article in the Washington Post, right? Just to show you, right? You see, mainstream media are not telling you what the Ukrainians did to the Nova Kakhovka Dam last year, right? Around December last year, the threats they made and the actual actions that they took by firing I think they're called HIMARS. Let me show you the article. It was in the Washington Post, and the Washington Post actually wrote about it. So this is it here, the Washington Post. The article was called "Discovery Dies in Darkness." All right. What you see here is the dam in full working order with Russian troops patrolling it, because this part of Kherson is controlled by Russia. Russia controls that part of the Dnieper River. They're on the southern side, on the east side, and the Ukrainians are on the west side, or on the other side of the river. So that river that you see that flows between them, it divides the Russian front lines and the Ukrainian front lines in this war. So as you can see, it says Russian troops patrol in May. Let's see if I can wind this up a little bit. Whoops, hold on. Russian troops patrol in May at the Nova Kakhovka Dam on the Dnieper River in Kherson region. The dam and the two other river crossings were key targets in the offensive. Now look at this. The two bridges were targeted with US supplied M142 high mobility artillery rockets, or HIMARS launchers, right? These are American rockets that they provided to the Ukrainians, which have a range of 50 miles and were quickly rendered impassable, right? There were moments when we turned off their supply lines completely and they still managed to build crossings, Kovkuk said. This is a general. This is the Ukrainian general, head of the general. He's the general, the head of the Ukrainian forces, should I say. Right? His name is Kovalchuk. It says they managed to replenish ammunition. It was very difficult. So this is it here. Kovalchuk considered flooding the river, right? That's the Dnieper River. That's where the dam, that's where the dam sits, on the Dnieper River, right? So he considered last year, December, they wrote this article, the Washington Post. Kovalchuk, which is the general, considered flooding the river. He's the head of the armed forces for Ukraine. The Ukrainians, he said, even conducted a test strike with a HIMARS launchers on one of the floodgates at the Nova Kakhovka Dam. So they tested the vulnerability of the dam by firing HIMARS missiles on it last year, December. So it says there, making 3 holes in the metal to see if the Dnieper, which is the river, if the Dnieper's water could be raised enough to stymie, which means to stop, to stymie Russian crossings but not flood nearby villages. Look, the test was what? There you go. The test was a success, Kovalchuk said, but the step remained a last resort. He held off. So they tested it. They tested destroying the dam last year, December, right? The Kovalchuk Dam. They tested it last year, December, right? As you can see here. They fired, the Ukrainians, he said, even conducted a test strike with HIMARS missiles launched on one of the floodgates at the Nova Kakhovka Dam, making 3 holes in the metal to see if the Dnieper waters could be raised enough to stymie, which means to stop Russian crossings, but not flood the nearby things. Let's quick look at the word stymie. Stymie, to prevent or hinder the progress of, you see? To prevent or hinder the progress of. Stymie. This is what they did. Now, we know these Ukrainians did this, right? We know they did this, just like how they did this. Now the US and this is June the 6th, Reuters, June the 6th, which was yesterday. See, 2023. This New York Post thing that I read to you, this article was written, and I'm going to show you, go to the top and I'll show you when it was written. December the 29th, 2022. So This was the Washington Post reporter inside the Ukrainian counteroffensive that shocked Putin and reshaped the war. December the 29th, 2022. 6 months ago, they fired HIMARS launch missiles into the dam to test its vulnerability, and they pierced the metal casings on the concrete dam, as we just read. All right, let's quickly go back down here. This is what they did, right? So that's the Russian soldiers walking across the dam there before it was destroyed. So this is what they used. The two bridges were targeted with US-supplied M142 high-mobility artillery rockets, or HIMARS, high mobility artillery rockets, HIMARS launchers. Yeah, the Ukrainians blew that dam. See, mainstream media are not referring you to this Washington Post article that was written in December 2022, how the Ukrainians actually fired successfully. See, it says here, the test was a success, Kovac said, but the step remained the last resort. He held off. Well, this is their last, they said the last stand. This is the Ukrainians' last stand, man, before the Russians completely annihilates them. Trust me. This is why they're doing anything and everything to stymie, to prevent or hinder the progress of who? Of the Russians. That's what he said, right? That's what he said here. And he says here, they made 3 holes in the metal of the dam to see if the Dnieper waters, which is the river, could be raised enough to what? To stymie Russians crossing, but not flood the nearby villages. Well, they've stopped the Russians crossing, and they've also flooded out all of the villages and the towns. Hey, it's them that did it. Just like how they did this, family. All right? Do you remember this? Now the Americans are coming out and saying the Ukrainians actually did this. Well, I know the Americans was involved in this. Now the US actually pointing the finger at the Ukrainians. US had intelligence of Ukrainians' plan to attack Nord Stream project. Remember Nord Stream 2? Washington Post reports. See, Nord Stream 2. Washington, this is June the 6th. The United States learned of a Ukrainian plan to attack the Nord Stream natural gas pipelines 3 months before they were damaged last September by underwater explosions. The Washington Post reported on Tuesday, citing leaked information posted online. The CIA, the Central Intelligence Agency, that's the sword, that's Esau's sword, right? Learned last June through a European spy agency that a 6-person team of Ukrainian Special Operations Forces intended to blow up the Russia to Germany project, the newspaper reported. And remember, they said, oh, it's the Russians blew up their own pipeline. Oh, the Russians blew up their own pipeline. Oh. Now they're coming out. Now they're coming out. The same Washington Post. This is Reuters now, telling you that yeah, U.S. intelligence knew that the Ukrainians did it. How did they know? Because they were part of it. Then the British, they were part of it. So just so you can see, these are the same people that were trying to say, "Oh, the Russians did it. The Russians did it. The Russians did it." All right. Let me just see if I can just play this little bit of this news clip here. I can quickly find it. Hold on. Nord Stream 2. All right, let's quickly see if I can play this. Listen to this.
Polish Foreign Affairs Minister and husband of neoconservative pundit Ann Applebaum refused to discuss his now deleted tweet thanking the U.S. for bombing the Nord Stream pipeline.
That's the Polish Foreign Minister, right? Tried to delete his tweet for thanking the U.S. for bombing the Nord Stream 2 pipelines. Yeah, the U.S. are fully involved alongside the Ukrainians.
As pointed out by Gray's own editor Max Blumenthal, Sikorsky, who's currently a member of the European Parliament, was on his way out of the secretive Bilderberg Group 2023 conference in Portugal. Let's take a look what he's talking about.
How about that tweet where you said thank you after the Nord Stream incident? Would you like to explain that one? It was a very interesting one. Okay, well, have a wonderful stay in Lisbon.
See that smug look on that devil's face? But this is where is he coming from? The Bilderberg Group meeting. Who the Bilderberg? Part of the elite, part of the secret society, part of the Illuminati. All right, this is the face for the Illuminati and the elites, is the Bilderberg Group. He's coming from a meeting from the Bilderberg Group. These guys are all working this thing together because, like we said, and we're going to keep saying, they're preparing you for World War III. But before we get there, they have to collapse the economy, or should I say the currencies. Everything has to go digital. Then we're going to come to the era of the microchip. We're probably going to see a black swan event that's going to introduce the microchip on a global scale. Then we're going to go head to head, the Russians and the US and NATO, in this war of Armageddon. So listen up.
According to reporting from the outlet The Times, German investigators are skeptical that Russian naval ships sabotaged the Nord Stream pipelines this past September and are pursuing leads that, quote, point to Ukrainian authorities. Professor and director of the Center for Sustainable Development at Columbia University, Jeffrey Sachs, joins us now to weigh in. Welcome, Professor Sachs.
Good to be with you. Thanks.
All right, so what do you make of this latest theory that it was, in fact, Ukrainian forces? And also feel free to reflect on that exchange in the airport that we watched just a second ago.
Look,
that exchange took place about a week ago, right, or 10 days ago. This interview took place around about the same time, about a week, 10 days ago, if I can recollect. So right about a week, 10 days ago, this interview and that meeting with the Bilderberg Group and that foreign minister from Poland that was approached in the airport that sent a tweet thanking the US for bombing Nord Stream 2. You know, because the Poles hate the Russians, right? Because the Russians had them under their thumb after the World War II. So they hate them, right? So they're totally in bed with the Americans and the elites.
I think that Seymour Hersh is the go-to source for the moment until proven otherwise. And the U.S. had the means, the motive, the timing, the bragging, the predictions that said if Russia invades, Nord Stream's not going forward. And Seymour Hersh gave us a blow-by-blow account. He explained that there are disgruntled people in the intelligence community that really were not happy with this, and they came to him. And the fact of the matter is, it's obvious that there are disgruntled people in the intelligence community because they've been also feeding information to the Washington Post and others that don't blame the Russians for this. They've been basically telling us that every smokescreen that was put up is just a diversion by the White House and the Chancellor's office in Germany. It's pretty clear what happened.
Despite, yes, it being at least somewhat clear to a lot of us, the mainstream media has just been, from beginning with theorizing that Russia did it, even though there was no real motivation there. And as you pointed out, our own U.S. officials had suggested.
They're doing the same thing again with this. They're doing the same thing again with this dam, right? Mainstream media are all looking to come together to say it was the Russians that did it. Well, we know it's the Ukrainians and the Americans. They're working together, man. Go hand join in hand, boy. The wicked shall not go unpunished.
Suggested that something would happen to Nord Stream. I've seen you interviewed in multiple places, in mainstream places, where I think you're greeted with a lot of skepticism, if not outright hostility, for taking this, for being a credible person who nonetheless takes this position that is so contrary to what, all the mainstream expert in national security intelligence kind of people are asserting. What has that experience been like?
Look at Radek Sikorski in that clip. Look, it's just a smirk on his face. This is power. Power says you don't have to explain, you don't have to apologize, you just have to smile. They're playing a game with us. And in fact, people tell me from leading mainstream media saying the opposite. Yeah, Jeff, of course it's the U.S. Are you kidding? But we should be grown-ups because, actually we'll blow up the world if we just think that everything is a game, that you can just lie, you can just get away with anything. And unfortunately, that is the attitude. It's a kind of superciliousness or arrogance that says, we don't have to tell you. And the New York Times wouldn't even deign to mention Seymour Hersh for weeks. You know, their own great investigative reporter, they wouldn't even mention what he had reported because they're playing a game with us. And I know because people tell me privately what they feel versus what is said in the mainstream.
Yeah, that's so key that people privately are conceding what you've been saying and what Seymour Hersh has been saying and what we've been saying, but publicly there's a total unwillingness to acknowledge basic reality. Is that because there's a fear of going against the administration's position that endlessly funding the Ukrainian resistance to Russia is an imperative national security objective that we will go along with, as long as it takes, even if it's an unreasonable goal that will just take us, forever or until the course of World War III or something like that?
That's where we're heading, boy. To the course of World War III. That's where it's all heading. This is what the elites are planning. This is what I'm saying. So those behind the scenes, let me just bring out a couple of scriptures, then we're going to shut this down. All right. So as you can see, that's these guys know what's going on. They understand. They don't know scripturally, but they know the elites, the governments. They're all planning. They all did this, and they're all planning this. And there's more to come, as we keep on saying. Get ready for the Black Swan event. So where was I? Matthew chapter 12, verse 25. And Yahushua knew their thoughts and said unto them, every kingdom divided against itself is brought to desolation, and every city or house divided against itself shall not stand. Well, Esau is divided against Esau. The Edomites of the east, the Russians, are fighting against the Edomites of the west, the Americans and the Europeans and the Western Europeans, right? So they are divided. Esau is divided against himself, so it can't stand. It says here, and if Satan cast out Satan, he is divided against himself. How shall then his kingdom stand? The devil's kingdom, Satan's kingdom, that's controlled by Esau, Edom, the Edomites, is coming to its crescendo, to its end. All right, the spiritual angel Satan, who, in a sense, when I say in a sense, he controls and he is their spiritual leader for the left-hand side. Right, the elites, the super elites, can't stand. It's coming to an end. It's as simple as that. Right. We know these scriptures here. Let's not bring up 1, 2 scriptures here. So Job. This is Esau's world, man. This is the wicked's world. They're just propping everything up, getting ready for the big one. All right, Job 9 and 24. As we all know, this one. The earth is given into the hand of the wicked. He covers the faces of the judges. Who are the judges? The Israelites, the true children of Israel, the prophets of the Bible. All right, he's covered their faces. He's given you the Renaissance version of who these people are in the scriptures. He's covered the true judges' faces. Who is the number one judge? Yahweh B'Shem Yahushua. Yahweh sending his son. If not, where and who is he? If this man is not the wicked, if he's not the ruler of this world, then where? Who is he? Who is it? Who is the ruler? Who is out there with all these weapons of mass destruction, these armies, these financial powers, the controllers of all of these secret societies? Who are these people? It's the Edomites. It's Esau, Edom. This is what the scripture says, right? It says, I didn't really want to spend long. This is where I want to get a bit of news out to you. 2 Ezra chapter 6. This is what the scripture says, isn't it? Esau is the end of the world. 2 Ezra chapter 6. Go away. 2 Ezra chapter 6, verse 9. For Esau is the end of the world, and Jacob is the beginning of it that follows. So Esau's shit is coming to an end. His kingdom is divided, his people is divided, whether they're divided against each other, they're divided by class, they're divided by left, right, politics, everything. So, and the world is divided as well. So it's all coming. Everything's getting ready for this. Everything's getting ready for this. The whole world is getting ready for this. But I always said to you, before this comes, And he gathers them together, Revelation 16:16, and he gathers them together into a place called in the Hebrew tongue Armageddon. So, this is the end game, the war of Armageddon. It's as simple as that. Whether you believe what we are prophesying or not, it doesn't matter to me. I don't give a damn whether you believe this or not, because we know this is coming to pass. We are waiting for the last two major prophecies, the mark of the beast, the microchip, and then what should come so quickly on the doornails of that is this war of Armageddon, World War III. So all of the antics that we see going on between the left, the right, conservative, Labour, Republican, Democrat, between the elites, super elites, all the different ideologies, the neo-cons and the neoliberals, and it's all to get us ready for this great event, the event of all events, the event that Daniel speaks of, right? They're all getting us ready for this, right? Daniel speaks of it, and I love this. I love that's the book of Daniel's. I love the book of Daniel. Period. Chapter 12 is one of my favorite scriptures. So we'll get us ready for this. And at that time shall Michael stand up, because only he's going to be able to deliver us, Yahushua, from this destruction that's coming. The great prince which standeth for the children of thy people, who is Daniel's people, the children of Israel, the Israelites. And there shall be a time of trouble, Israel, all right? The beginning of Jacob's trouble, such as never was since there was a nation, even to that same time. And at that time, thy people, Daniel's people, the Israelites, shall be delivered. Only the elect, not all of Israel, just the elect. Every one that shall be found written in the book. So who's going to be found written in the book? Just the elect. Not all of Israel. Just the elect are going to be found written in the book. And then we got, what's I going to go to? So I'm just working in the spirit, man, right now. Let's pick up another scripture to go to. Yeah, let's go to it. Go-to scriptures. Yeah. Brothers, we just got to stick with this, boy. We got to stick with this, this truth. Because this is getting ready. Therefore rejoice, you heavens, and you that dwell in them. This is Esau's heaven. Woe unto the inhabitants of the earth and of the sea. For the devil, the deceiver, the slanderer, Esau, Edom, the elite of Esau, is come down unto you, having great wrath. Why? This is why you see these things happening. Because he knows that he has but a short time. Let me just explain something to you. That destruction of that dam, you know what it's actually done as well? It's flooded out all of the fertile land. What is Ukraine known for? It's the breadbasket of Europe. Ukraine is, let's just bring it up, breadbasket of Europe. Right. Ukraine has long been known as what? As the breadbasket of Europe. Well, let me tell you what's happened. You're going to see wheat, bread, rice, everything's going to shoot up. Watch and see over these next few weeks. The floodwaters have flooded a lot of the fertile land where they would harvest this wheat, right? Why is Ukraine called the breadbasket of Europe? It's a significant global market share by the volume in wheat, 10%, barley, 30%, corn, 15%, and sunflower oil, 50%, and is ranked the 5th, 2nd, 3rd, and 1st largest exporter, respectively, of these crops. Breadbasket of Europe. The majority of that water that come from that dam that's overflowed the Dnieper River is flooding this beautiful land. It's flooded that. The breadbasket. So we're going to see. We are going to see. We're going to see these prices skyrocket up. Watch and see. Keep an eye on it. Bread, everything that comes from these wheat, whether it's biscuits, cereal, bread, you think everything that wheat makes, your rice, corn, flour, pasta, you're going to watch all these prices go up. It's flooded. This is what the news said as well. It's flooded the majority of the land where they harvest this wheat from to feed Europe. All praises to Yahweh Hashem Yahushai. We're going to get this party going. So the devil knows he's got but a short time. So they've blown up that dam. They know what they're doing, man. They like I said, get ready for the Black Swan event that's going to bring in the CBDC, the microchip. All right? Get ready for this. The hour of temptation. Let's just quickly bring it up. Is it 3 and 10? We're probably going to close on this. 3 and 10. Yeah. Get ready for this, family. This is Yahweh Shai speaking, right? The world ignorantly calls Jesus Christ. Because thou hast kept the word of my patience, I will also keep thee from the hour of temptation. From the hour of temptation. The hour of temptation is the microchip, which shall come upon all the world. All the world. Everyone's going to be tested. To try them that dwell upon the earth. You think what they did I did a video the other day about the DIIA, the DIA system that they've just released in Ukraine. So that's going to come into more, because all these places have been flooded. This is the shops, the banks, they've lost power, electricity. They say it could also even affect the nuclear power plant in Zaporizhia. Because remember, the nuclear rods, right? The uranium rods in the nuclear power plants need to be kept cooled 24/7. And it was the water from the dam that they used to cool that nuclear power plant in Kherson, in Zaporizhia. And it's the biggest nuclear power plant in Europe. Remember what happened to Japan? Remember when the Japan, remember this? Japan nuclear power plant. Remember this? I think it's the same reason what happened. That's it. I couldn't remember the name. The Fukushima Daiichi accident. Following a major earthquake, a 15-meter tsunami disabled the power supply and, look, see? And that's what the water's used for. And the what? And the cooling of 3 Fukushima Daiichi reactors, causing a nuclear accident. You see that? This is the point. The cooling of the 3 Fukushima Daiichi reactors, causing a nuclear accident. Remember this place here? In Japan, this was about 10, 12 years ago, if I remember. There you go, look at that. Bang on, 12 years ago. March the 11th, 2011, 12 years ago. Right? On the 11th of March 2011, a nuclear accident occurred at the Fukushima Daiichi nuclear power plant in Okuma, Fukushima, Japan. The proximate cause of the disaster, right? Because it lost the water, the power to pump the water to cool off the nuclear reactors, the rods, the nuclear reactor rods, the uranium rods. If you can't keep them cool 24/7, you get what happened in Fukushima, you get what happened in Chernobyl. That's what can happen. So you've got that power plant in Ukraine. Let me just show you before we shut this down. Ukraine nuclear power plant. It's in Zaporizhia, I believe it's called. There it is here. See? So they said at the moment there's no immediate risk, right? Ukraine dam collapse, no immediate risk, right? Yeah, just get ready for this. To the Zaporizhia nuclear plant, right? The IAEA, I mean, it's International Atomic something agency, says damage to the Nova Kavolka dam raises long-term concerns for power station future. All right, just so you understand what's going on, family. Just so you understand what's going on. Look at that, yeah. Whoa. Whoa. So that's the main danger. If that power plant loses the ability for it to cool off the water, to cool off the uranium rods that will heat up, they will explode, and then we're going to have another Fukushima on our hands. All right, just so you understand. Look at that, boy. Whoa. So they're blaming each other, boy. But it doesn't matter to me. If Satan cast out Satan, how can his kingdom still stand? So anyway, let's get ready for what's next. This happened. The Zaporizhia can easily happen again. And the Zaporizhia power plant can easily happen again. As simple as that. That's it. The Zaporizhia nuclear power plant in Ukraine, the biggest nuclear power plant in Europe. So just keep an eye on what's going on with this dam that's been flooding. That's it. That, you know, it doesn't matter to me who did it, boy, because like I said, all of these events are going to lead us to the CBDC, and then from the CBDC, it should lead us straight into the War of Armageddon. The hour of temptation is coming. The War of Armageddon is coming. The microchip is coming. So, where did we start? We started here, right? Every kingdom divided against itself, and Yahushua knew their thoughts and said unto them, just like I know that today, every kingdom divided against itself is brought to desolation, and every city or house divided against itself shall not stand. And if Satan, our adversary, the Edomites, cast out Satan, he is divided against himself, how shall then his kingdom stand? So, a lot of propaganda news is going to be going on, blaming on each side. It doesn't really matter to me who did it. But I totally believe from my own research and for I've seen the propaganda that comes from these Western mainstream media, that is the Ukrainians that did this to try to stymie the Russian advance onto them, basically. They can't win this shit, and they're never going to win this shit because the Lord has raised up the Russians to gather together that coalition of countries to come up against the beast, NATO and its allies. And the head of NATO is America. So anyway, I pray you're edified by today's edification. Like I said, as always, I want to give you the praises and the glory to Yahweh, Ba'asham, Yahushai, Ba'asham, Rakad, Kodash. Double honors to the apostles and to the elders of Great Millstone, our teachers and our leaders in the spiritual warfare that we're having. Shalom to my fellow like-minded Hebrews, like brothers that are out there laboring and harvesting the field. Like Apostle Tahar always says, the laborers, the harvest is plenty, but the laborers are few. But we're going to keep doing what we do best, boy. Prophesy in the name of our Lord and Savior, Yahweh Ba'ashim, Yahushai, and pray, Lord willing, we make it when all hell breaks loose, that the Lord delivers us from this. Shalom, shalom, shalom.